All right. I can start. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and we are live on KENS 5, tracking a couple of different things, including 2 wildfires that sparked in the area, one in Gillespie County and one in Bandera County. We have satellite imagery, we have updates that we're going to keep you up to date with on KENS 5, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. But here is the latest. We'll have it right there. Perfect. There's live conditions, and then there's a satellite image from about a couple of hours ago. So that was around the 3:30 to 4 o'clock hour. We grabbed this satellite image from NOAA, and you can actually see the cloud cover moving in from the west, but more importantly, the smoke that's coming out of the Crabapple wildfire northeast of Fredericksburg in eastern Gillespie County. That's what's causing the problem and also reducing the air quality. So if you see clouds in the area, that's normal, but the smoke that's coming in from this wildfire, we have westerly winds, and as probably a lot of you have experienced and noticed outside, it's windy, and it's all coming in from the west-northwest behind a frontal boundary, and that's driving in drier air, lower humidity, and that is not favorable. That is bad conditions for fire weather. It's elevated fire weather concerns. Not just today, but likely a lot of days early next week. It will come down tomorrow. That'll be the good news. The conditions will be a little bit more better to fight these fires for fire crews, firefighters, first responders for tomorrow. The conditions, the weather will be a little bit better for tomorrow. But by Monday and Tuesday, things start to elevate once again, and that's when it could be a problem when winds start to gust upwards of 20, 30, 35 miles an hour. Sparks and embers that pop up can spread rapidly, and that's why we have red flag warnings in effect for tonight, and likely elevated fire weather concerns for early next week, which we'll talk to you about in just a little bit. But that is a latest satellite image from space from the South Texas area, and you can see the wildfire smoke right there. San Antonio's kind of in the bottom left-hand portion of the screen, but a lot of smoke can be seen from San Antonio. If you look north, you can see that streamline of smoke that's moving in from west to east. And this is also going to reduce the air quality for some parts of I-35 and also near Austin, maybe north of San Marcos. You can probably see the line of smoke a little bit more clear, but that's the latest on satellite imagery for the Crabapple wildfire. Here's a look kind of where it is on the map. So eastern Gillespie County, so far from the Texas A&M Forest Service, it is 0% contained. I'll double check on that right now just to get some clarity, because obviously this is updating every hour or so, and you can check on that incident viewer on the Texas A&M Forest website. So right now, yeah, it's 400%, 400 acre is the fire size and 0% containment. The one to the south and west over Bandera County, that's covering about 17 acres, and that's 95% contained. So obviously a little bit different on wildfires across the area. The one in eastern Bandera County, mostly contained. The one in eastern Gillespie County, a lot larger, 400 acres, and right now, it's not contained at all. It's sparked up. I believe we have some of the information. I have it right here. Let me just pick it up right now. The fire in Gillespie County started around 1 p.m. on Saturday, March 15th, so earlier this afternoon. It started on the address of 8700 Lower Crabapple Road, which is north of downtown Fredericksburg, and moved east across Highway 16 north due to high winds and prime conditions for wildfires. And as you can see, and also you've probably noticed, the winds are gusting near 30 to 40 miles an hour. I think some wind gusts were picked up to 45 earlier this morning and this afternoon when the wind speeds really started to ramp up. Thankfully, late tonight and most importantly tomorrow, these winds will die down, but that is the latest on the wildfire. The one in Crabapple, off of Crabapple Road, the one in Gillespie County, northeast of Fredericksburg, that's the one we're watching very closely. That's the one you could probably see, if you look north, you could probably see the smoke coming out of the wildfire pretty clearly. Law enforcement will be in the area to help with evacuations. If anyone has been displaced, a shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. Just want to reiterate that one more time. Law enforcement will be in the area to help out with evacuations. If anyone has been displaced, a shelter is available for those who have been displaced at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. So 0% contained Crabapple fire. The Saddle fire south and southwest in Bandera County, that one is contained. And because of the winds, I'm going to rewind this back. So this is a forecast model. This shows the Crabapple fire pretty clearly and distinctly on some of our forecast data. Now, thankfully, wind speeds will die down late tonight through tomorrow. That's the good news. But what happens is they turn slightly in from the west to the north. And what that will do is kind of spread some of the smoke farther south towards San Antonio, parts of Kendall County, towards north and northeastern Bexar County. So you've probably noticed the haze out there. You kind of see it with some of our live shots right below me. That's more of a cloud cover deck. But by tomorrow, it'll be sunny, but you'll notice that kind of milky color in the sky, that hazy condition for tomorrow, and that will be haze, and more importantly, some of the lingering residual smoke from the Crabapple fire that's burning right now in northeastern Gillespie County. Because of the north wind, that'll usher in smoke in our direction, not everywhere in San Antonio, but anywhere from Bulverde, Kendall County towards Comal County, northern Bexar County towards Wilson and Guadalupe County. We could see reduced air quality because of the increased amount of smoke in the area because of the Crabapple fire. Because of the wind speed direction, it'll shift tomorrow, and that may cause a concern. Now, at the moment, winds are out of the west, and look how gusty they are. And these are just some of the wind speeds right now. Some of the occasional gusts near 12 o'clock, 1, 2 o'clock today, we're up to 40 to 45 miles an hour. Now, they're still windy, right? So if you're heading out this evening, it's going to be windy. It's going to be a lot cooler thanks to drier air moving in. But more importantly, this is not a favorable environment for fire weather. This is why we have red flag warnings in effect, because wind speeds are gusting upwards of 35 to 40 in the area. Here's the hour by hour. Tonight, things start to calm down a little bit. Tomorrow morning, 5 to 15 miles an hour. We'll see another push of some drier air tomorrow afternoon, but not as gusty. You saw in those forecast wind speeds tomorrow around 2 and 3 o'clock, maybe upwards of 15 to 20 miles an hour, but that's a much improvement compared to where they are today, and they were up to about 40 to 45 at times in the area. Now, we talked about the wildfires, we talked about the wind speeds, the current and the forecast. Right now, air quality in San Antonio is moderate, but if you're in Gillespie County near Fredericksburg, or even north of that towards Bulverde, parts of Kendall County, towards Comal County, we could see reduced air quality up to the orange color, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. So limit time outdoors. If you see the haze in the sky, the smoke, also you can see cloud cover, but if you see that haze in the sky, it's most likely smoke moving in your direction because of the west-northwest winds. We talked about this red flag warning that's in effect. Drought is pretty bad. This is 6 months ago. Fast forward to today, it's exceptional. It's the worst category we have, and this means dangerous conditions for wildfires. dry vegetation, dry grass on the highways and a lot of the rural areas of the hill country, which is where we saw the Crabapple fire start up. And right now, 0% contained. It's northeast of Fredericksburg, and it started there around 1 o'clock earlier this afternoon. We'll go back to the fires in a second, but first, the fire danger. It's extreme today. It comes down a little bit tomorrow, goes down to that yellow category, just moderate to high, but the ramps back up Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be up to extreme early next week because remember, spring officially starts next week, and this time of year, March, April, May, wind speeds really ramp up because of storm systems dropping in, and that's when we could see winds be a problem for fires. So again, if you're just joining us, here's another satellite image of what happened earlier today. This was at 1 o'clock. This particular image was taken from our GO satellite imagery around 3:30 to 4. But this is all due to the wildfire that sparked up north of San Antonio and Gillespie County. And it is 0% contained per from the Texas A&M Forest Service. Just some of the information we're getting from fire and EMS. Both of those departments are working in conjunction with crews across the region. They're working to contain this grass fire that started around 1 o'clock on Saturday, March 15th. That was earlier today. The fire started near Lower Crabapple Road. So that's northeast of Fredericksburg, which is north of the downtown area. Moved east across Highway 16 north due to high winds. As you saw in some of those wind gusts, they were gusting over 35 to 40 miles an hour. Due to high winds, low humidity, dry air moving in behind this system. If you've seen radar, if you've kept up with any weather news lately, there's severe storms east towards Mississippi, Alabama, parts of Georgia later tonight. But on the backside of that rain system is what we're experiencing now, just some more cloud cover, but more importantly, dry air, low humidity, and dangerous fire conditions. Now, again, it started off Lower Crabapple Road around 1 o'clock today due to high winds and prime conditions for wildfires in the area. As crews work on containment, everyone is asked to avoid this area. So anywhere northeast of Fredericksburg, that's where this fire is at. And as a matter of fact, I'll show you a better vantage point of that. So northeast of Fredericksburg, 0% contained. Size is 400 acres per the Texas A&M Forest Service. That's the data they have on their website. There's also an additional fire, Saddle Fire, that's 95% contained. That's the one we're less worried about. It's really the one in Gillespie County, 0% contained, 400 acres is the size. That is massive. And it's continuing to feed off the dry conditions, the lower humidity, the gusty winds you saw, 35 to 40 miles an hour. The drought, I mean, in this area, as a matter of fact, so that's the latest on that. I want to fast forward to the drought real quick. So northeastern Gillespie County, how bad is it? This was 6 months ago right here per this particular graphic right there. That's 6 months ago. But fast forward to today, how bad is it in Gillespie County? It is the worst category. So you can see where this fire is burning is the worst degree, worst level of fire weather concerns, worst level of drought. We've talked about severe, extreme drought. But when we get up to exceptional, that means this area is a tinderbox for any fires that spark up. Remember, embers. Remember, if you're driving over any tall grass, right, your car can be so hot, and then when the grass, the vegetation is so dry, that friction, that difference in temperature can be a problem. And this is why we have elevated fire weather concerns, not just for San Antonio, but anywhere that's shaded in orange, red, or maroon. That is where conditions are extreme for fire danger for today. It's going to get better for tomorrow, the fire danger, because the winds will come down. That'll be the good news. But notice the drought is a huge, huge concern in this area. And anywhere from Johnson City towards Blanco County, towards parts of Blanco County, Gillespie County, and then San Antonio, Southern Bexar County, and Atascosa County, Medina County is a problem out there right now because of the drought. So that's the GO satellite imagery. There's the current fires right now. Just want to make sure everything's A-OK on this live stream before we keep going. I want to double check one thing real quick.
Right, but if you just have me on your phone on speaker, it should be able to hear.
Interesting. So that, right, okay, Crabapple fire, 0% contained. We talked about this earlier. The winds are going to die down significantly. And what's going to happen is they'll turn from the north. And what happens tomorrow morning, some of that smoke will move into our area. This is a forecast model, so take it with a grain of salt. But if winds do turn from the north, that's ushering in drier air and smoke in our direction towards San Antonio, towards Bulverde, towards Timberwood Park, towards Hollywood Park, towards the airport. This can mean lower visibility and higher fire danger concerns in the area. So we'll have to watch that very closely. Oh, okay. Right there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So forecast, we're talking about that very quickly. The Crabapple fire, 0% contained, over 400 acres on the size. KENS 5 reporter Megan Reyna is live up there. Megan, what can you tell us at this moment?
Yeah, Ryan, what you were mentioning there, 0% contained, and we have fire crews from across this region. We're in Gillespie County. We're north of Fredericksburg. We got an update, and I'm sure you've been letting people know from Fredericksburg's city PIO, letting us know about a shelter that's currently open for people that had to be evacuated from this area. But we want to show you these images because this really is what tells the story here. You see so many of this vegetation charred, and you see those embers that are burning. They're not able to, you see active little fires around us. They can't get to all of this right now. I mean, they're really having to be strategic about how they're attacking this fire. I was able to speak with a gentleman just over the phone while I was driving in who is familiar with this area. He lives in Fredericksburg. He was witnessing the fire firsthand. He was at a friend's house. He was seeing it basically spread and get larger. He told me that about 3 years ago in this same area is whenever they had a grass fire similar to this grass fire in this same area. And what's so challenging about fighting fires here, obviously, is we're dealing with the drought, we're dealing with the wind, the vegetation. It's so rigid here. It's hard for firefighters to necessarily get into certain areas. I mean, what we're seeing here, you see dips. And so this is really a challenge, and it's all hands on deck right now currently here in Gillespie County. Again, just a zero containment, 400 acres. We know that this fire has spread past Highway 16. So they're asking anyone between Highway 16 North and FM 1631, between Ranch Road 1323 and Ranch Road 2721, be prepared to evacuate. And there is a shelter available at Faith Baptist Church off of North State Highway 16 in Fredericksburg. So there's options available. But like we've been mentioning, this is just all hands on deck trying to figure out how to get this fire, this grass fire, under control. I'm seeing now too, I don't know, my photographer Mike Humphreys is here behind the camera, heavy black smoke. And so that's just, that right there showing you how intense this grass fire is right now. And when I mentioned that conversation I had again with that gentleman who is from Fredericksburg, mentioning just how difficult it can be to contain these fires. The last time there was a grass fire similar to this one in this same area was about 3 years ago, he said. And he said it took 4 to 5 days for firefighters to truly get it under control. They were then battling more so the heat than the wind conditions. But still, I mean, we're battling wind conditions, the drought. It is truly a task for these firefighters, but we know that they're working really hard in this brush fire right now. So, yeah, and if you see what's left behind of some of this vegetation, and a lot of what we've been seeing is what you're seeing now, just charred. A lot of these trees, these brushes, all charred, and we're still seeing little active flames here and there. And they just can't get to it all right now. Something I haven't mentioned yet, which I'm sure Ryan has mentioned, is fighting from the sky. That is their biggest resource right now. We've heard planes going overhead. We've seen them with the big water buckets. It seems like they're going deeper into where we're seeing all the heavy smoke, because we actually lose sight of them and we're not able to see the drop itself. So that's telling me they're focusing it more towards where you're seeing that heavy smoke than rather this area, which we're off of Crabtree Road right now. That's where we're at right now. So we know they're fighting it from the sky. We saw the retardant actually on the road just down the street from where we're at. So that red retardant, we saw that. They've been using that. They've been using the planes with the water drops. So lots of resources being put into this. They're working, they're doing their best. We can just tell you that. So many firefighters from so many different counties, volunteer fire departments out here working hard. Something else about the area, if you're just not familiar with where we're at north of Fredericksburg and Gillespie County, it is a rural area. There's a lot of wildlife. We saw a lot of ranches, a lot of cattle. And so the homes, as far as the population, it's very scattered. You just see a lot of different big ranches. So there's not like big subdivisions that are necessarily at risk here where we're at. Just homes here and there. But of course, they're wanting those people to evacuate just out of an abundance of caution that are closer into this where the brush fire is. So we're continuing to follow these developments, Ryan, and I know that you're following the wind conditions, and the wind is actually kind of, well, I say that right when I say the wind is kind of calming down, then it picks up again. So it goes in waves as far as just how windy it is out here. But we're going to continue to follow those developments. I'm going to send it back to you just so you can give us an update on what you're seeing back there in the studio.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, I mean, the winds are gusting upwards of 35 miles an hour where you're at across the hill country. The thing is, anywhere out west is where it gets worse, right? Not just because of drought, because of lower humidity, but because of those winds. Anywhere from Del Rio to the hill country, and especially where you're located, that's where we're seeing conditions a little bit more elevated when it comes to fire weather in our area. So we'll take a look at the wind speeds. So Megan Reyna just reporting from the hill country in Gillespie County for the Crabapple wildfire. If you're just joining us, we talked about this earlier, but from space, from geostationary satellite imagery, our GOES East satellite can actually pick up the fire, the Crabapple fire in Gillespie County, northeast of Fredericksburg. So if you look closely, I'll zoom in on this full screen, you can actually see that smoke layer, the plume of smoke moving in from, north of Fredericksburg, moving eastward. So this was about maybe an hour and a half ago. So that layer of smoke is probably a little bit more farther east towards Houston, or maybe towards Columbus, maybe near Katy. But what this is going to mean for you and me and everyone out there is lowered air quality. That can be a concern as well. When that happens, we usually see our air quality reduced down to moderate or even down to unhealthy, especially for sensitive groups. Those who suffer from COPD, emphysema, asthma, labored breathing, that can be a problem when smoke is in the area. Obviously, it's a very thin layer of smoke, so it's not everywhere. But the thing is, if wind speeds, if wind direction change at all, some of that can move in different directions. And most of it will. As a matter of fact, let me show you. So that's geostationary satellite imagery. Here is where the current fires are at. If you're just joining us, there is one in Bandera County, mostly contained, 95% contained, size 17 acres according to the Texas A&M Forest Service. The Crabapple fire, 0% contained. That sparked off around 1 o'clock earlier this afternoon in Gillespie County, size 400 acres, as you saw on some of those videos. On some of the live conditions where Megan was at, I mean, a huge plume of smoke just rising into the air and then spreading eastward. And that's going to reduce air quality. So as a matter of fact, most importantly, you can actually see where the winds are. I'm zooming in so the text boxes are a little different, but the fire, the wildfire northeast of Fredericksburg, that smoke is moving directly towards Blanco County, Round Mountain, Johnson City, towards Dripping Springs Lakeway, towards Austin. So if you are in any of those areas that I mentioned, expect reduced air quality. Matter of fact, let's stop it right here. And let me put a little pause point. So this is a forecast model, so take it with a grain of salt. But it's just taking the conditions at the surface right now and aloft as well. Atmospheric conditions, surface conditions, humidity, droughts. That's extreme to exceptional in our area, but more importantly, winds. So watch what happens. We zoom in. By this evening and late tonight, we could see worsening air quality from anywhere from Fredericksburg to Blanco, Johnson City, Round Mountain to Buda to Austin, anywhere along I-35. Plumes of smoke will continue to move eastward because of those westerly winds, and that can be a problem for air quality. So if you're sensitive to that end of the air, for any unhealthy sensitive groups like those who suffer from COPD, emphysema, that can be a problem. So limit time outdoors, especially those in Gillespie County and Blanco County, and then towards I-35, towards Austin, San Marcos, Buda, Cedar Creek, Blanco, Canyon Lake, those communities out there as well. And I do want to mention this as well. So watch what happens by tonight. So we're fast forwarding through time. This particular smoke layer, let's go back and start it right here. Watch what happens. Wind speeds by tonight, they relax a little bit. They're still gusting near 20 to 25 miles an hour. There'll still be a problem for this fire. But by tonight and tomorrow morning early, while you're asleep, the overnight hours, wind speeds start to turn in from the north versus just a westerly wind. And that can be a problem because now it's not moving towards Johnson City. The smoke is now moving towards San Antonio. So I do think by tomorrow morning, 6, 7, 8 a.m., you may notice a haze in the sky. Sunrise will be around 7:50 tomorrow morning. So maybe around 8 a.m., you'll notice a haze in the sky. And if you do, that's likely the smoke in the air from the wildfire in Gillespie County, northeast of Fredericksburg. So again, this is all courtesy of westerly winds turning north later tonight. And if they do turn directly from the north, which is what we're expecting based on high resolution forecast data, that'll start to usher in smoke in our direction, towards Bulverde, towards Kendall County, towards Bexar County, Timberwood Park, downtown San Antonio. We could see another plume of smoke move in our direction, and that could mean lower air quality and worsening conditions in the area. And remember, north wind is dry. Anything from the west or north is a dry wind, and that's conducive for just letting the fire burn. So first responders, firefighters are all on the scene right now. And if you're just joining us, we'll rewind this back. Before that, wind gusts right now 32 in San Antonio, 37 up to 40 in Fredericksburg. And you saw with Megan, she was experiencing some of those high winds. Those strong winds occasionally are gusting up to 40 miles an hour at times. Not all the time. It's not a sustained wind of 37 miles an hour, but the occasional gust is upwards of 37 miles an hour in the hill country. 34 at Bernie, 38 Del Rio. The sustained winds are probably on the range of about 20 to 30 miles an hour, and the occasional gusts are up to 30 to 35 miles an hour. That's kind of what we're seeing right now. So we'll rewind it back. So that's the current fires. If you're just joining us, Crabapple fire, 0% contained, sparked off around 1 o'clock earlier today, northeast of Fredericksburg. It started on Lower Crabapple Road, which is north of the downtown Fredericksburg area, and it moved east because of strong winds. It moved across Highway 16 north due to high winds and prime conditions for wildfires. Size 400 acres, that's from what we're seeing, but also from the Texas A&M Forest Service website. An additional fire, saddle fire, 95% contained. That size is 17 acres. That's Bandera County. Less of a concern on that because it's mostly contained. That's the good news. But the one in Fredericksburg, right, the one in Gillespie County is less contained. Now you saw on Megan Reyna's live shot a huge plume of smoke. We talked about this earlier, but you can see that smoke from space. Matter of fact, take a look. Zooming in, you can see that huge plume moving in from north of our area and the smoke spreading out all the way east, right? So it's crossing over I-35. This particular shot was taken at about 3:30 to 4 o'clock earlier today. This is the Crabapple fire burning near Fredericksburg. Firefighters working to extinguish these flames, but right now the fire is 0% contained. As crews work on containment, everyone is asked to avoid the area. People in the area should listen to crews on the ground about evacuations and prepare to evacuate, just in case, right? Anywhere between Highway 16 North and FM 1631 and between Ranch Road 1323 and Ranch Road 2721 should be prepared to evacuate because this is a large fire. On that previous graphic, the size of this fire is 400 acres. So this is a massive fire. Just the one that's in Bandera County is 17 acres. The one that's north of San Antonio and Fredericksburg, northeast of Fredericksburg in Gillespie County, that's 400 acres. It's a massive fire that sparked off at 1 o'clock earlier today. Law enforcement will be in the area to help with evacuations. If anyone has been displaced, a shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas, 78624. So I just want to reiterate that one more time. With one of our live cameras. There's Megan Reyna, there's first responders on the scene. Those are first responders. Law enforcement we just want to do this one more time. Law enforcement will be in the area to help with evacuations. If anyone has been displaced, a shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway, 16 Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. If anyone has been displaced by this fire, this wildfire, that is the address, 3022 North State Highway, 16 Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. This is the fire chief, Lynn Bizzle. At this point, there is no containment. Our goal is to stop the forward progress with air support, with TDEM and Texas A&M Forest Service. Crews are also working behind the fire to make sure embers do not cause more fires. That's the problem, because remember, these winds are moving in from the west. It's a dry wind. They're gusting near 35 to 40 miles an hour. These embers, when the winds are moving this fast, will jump from spot to spot so fast, but they'll not only jump from road to road or from grass to grass, sometimes they can jump onto homes, onto property, and that can cause house fires. And with this westerly wind, even though it's in a rural area in Gillespie County, the westerly wind and some of these embers are moving farther east towards, let's look into some of these communities. Yeah, absolutely. Moving towards Johnson City in Blanco County. So again, that's the latest on wind speeds and the Crabapple fire in Gillespie County. Megan Reyna is live with another update on the fire. She's live in Gillespie County. Megan, what are you seeing right now?
Right over there, but I was originally from South Africa.
Well, Ryan, we want to take a break from showing you the destruction. We actually just ran into people that live up the road at the top of the mountain, so they've been impacted by this wildfire. Just introduce yourself to us real quick again, and how far away is your home from here?
Hi, I'm Deidre Wilson and Alan Wilson, and we're a quarter of a mile, if that. And this fire started right where we are standing right now, and it's burned, I think I've heard, 400 acres. It's 0% contained. It's affected the southern part of our property, but thankfully, because these firefighters and our community are so magnificent, no structure that I know so far has been lost. All of our neighbors are intact. All, I think, livestock that I know of is intact. And they are so dedicated, you know, they'll probably be out here tonight because the wind's gonna be blowing all night. So.
This has happened to y'all before?
Yes, it has. We were part of the Big Sky Fire, and we lost the eastern part of our property, was that 2 years ago? I think.
2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
August.
Right. So it's the same group, right? But as I said, they're
Their
magnificent.
response is amazing.
They are. I mean, you guys probably saw we had air support, we had helicopters and airplanes dropping fire retardancy. So we feel blessed, scared but blessed, right?
Yeah, and you talked about your neighbor. Her home was spared, but what it was around her home?
Well, all the trees, all the grass is gone. They're down there right now with chainsaws cutting away any last remnants so that it doesn't get affected. Her 2 vehicles sitting out look perfect, so I think she's going to be okay.
Right, and that just speaks to the work of the firefighters from across this area. Y'all are listing some places. People have come driven in from Corpus Christi, y'all saw?
I don't know this time for
Oh,
the Big
last
Sky.
time they came from Corpus, but there's been people from Waco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Waco is there right now. The local fire departments, Doss, Willow
City, Harper.
Obviously Fredericksburg.
I saw another, I don't remember, but Hill country folk are the best, right?
Yeah. So while there's this risk, right, because of the vegetation and the conditions and the drought, you love this area, you love this community.
Sure.
You can see it.
Right. And we stay here no matter what, right? So, but I think that the wind's supposed to die down tonight, so that may save a lot of homes to the east of us and let them get a handle on what's going on. So
Yeah.
keep your fingers crossed.
A lot of people are saying prayers for y'all right now.
Yes,
so.
I know. We've
We
got lots
appreciate
of
that.
texts, and we love that. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We don't want to take any more of your time because I know that you've got a lot going on. So I appreciate it so
Okay.
much. Thank
you. Nice to meet
Yes,
you.
nice to meet you. Yeah, Ryan. So, I mean, that's just a reminder of this is impacting real people, real lives. This might be a rural area. I think we're showing you a plane that's flying overhead. But this might be, you know, a area, right, that still have to live out in those ranches. People affected, and not to mention the wildlife too. You know, the livestock that's out here as well. So we're just going to continue to follow any latest developments that we can get. But she mentioned it. The latest that we have is zero containment, 400 acres. And she's expecting these firefighters that are from across the area, across Central Texas, to be out here possibly all night to make sure that none of those homes are impacted and that everyone is safe.
Yeah, you mentioned some good things, Megan. Thank you so much for your reports in the Hill Country. You mentioned also a couple of things, livestock, vegetation. I mean, you saw it with some of the vegetation that's out there surrounding Megan. It's so dry. I mean, it's not green, right? We've had a lack of rain, not just the last several months, you know, through the winter, but last several years, we've been in an extreme drought on and off since about 2022. It's been pretty bad. Now, you also mentioned, you know, winds dying down tonight. That'll help a little bit because right now winds are still gusting upwards of 35, maybe 40 miles an hour. That's current occasional gusts between here and San Antonio towards the Hill Country. Now, the Weather Service has this issued it last night, the red flag warning. We've seen several consecutive red flag warnings consistently over the last couple of weeks. I mean, ever since March started, it's been wildfires on and off, grass fires on and off. Now, this particular red flag warning will expire at 9 o'clock tonight, but that doesn't mean things are going to get all that better. We talked about the wind speeds dying down. We'll show you the future cast, the forecast wind speeds overnight. They will diminish. They'll subside a little bit, but it's still going to be a problem. You know why? It's just the drought. The fire is going to continue to burn. It's 0% contained, 400 acres across parts of Gillespie County. But the red flag warning will be in effect until 9 p.m. tonight for elevated fire weather conditions. Yes, things will improve slightly tonight, but the problem is exceptional to extreme drought continues. This was 6 months ago, right? This was 6 months ago. This is about August to September last year. Fast forward to today, this is a tinderbox. This is such a terrible, conducive environment for fire weather. As a matter of fact, you zoom in, red is bad, but maroon is worse. This is the worst level of drought. Southern Bexar County, Atascosa County, Medina County, parts of Frio County, all the way up to Gillespie County. You can see where that fire is burning northeast of Fredericksburg is in the spot where it is exceptionally dry. And that is the worst degree, worst level of drought. And what that means for wildfires, it's a tinderbox. Things will spread rapidly. That's why the Weather Service issued those red flag warnings already, because of not just winds, not just because of low humidity, but because of the drought that's in place right now. And when you add in winds, when you add in relative humidity values at like 10%, when you add in dew points that are in the 20s, that's extremely desert-like dry air behind these dry lines that move in from West Texas, and they move farther east and they usher in drier air, and that could be a problem in the area. So right now, wind gusts. These are the occasional gusts. They're near 32 in San Antonio, up to 36 to 37 in Fredericksburg. Now, that's the occasional gust. I do want to see if we can show you the sustained wind speeds, because this is not showing the wind speeds all the time, right? These are the occasional wind gusts. So give me a second and I'll put that up and I'll show you what kind of fire conditions that EMS, firefighters, first responders are battling right now. As this fire, if you're just joining us, it is 0% contained. It's covering about 400 acres northeast of Fredericksburg in the Hill Country, and it is 0% contained. So we're hoping that firefighters, first responders can help with battling this fire tonight, but conditions are just not good right now. They'll get better, and I'll show you the forecast wind speeds to overnight through tomorrow. By tomorrow, I think they come down from where they are right now, 32 to 40 miles an hour. They'll come down to about 10 to 20 miles an hour for Sunday. So that'll be good news for battling the fire. But remember, the air is still dry. The relative humidity is extremely low, and it is a problem. So these are sustained wind speeds. Still pretty breezy, still pretty gusty, right? They're at 30 in the city, areas out west, Del Rio 35. Fredericksburg 22. But when you factor in the occasional wind gust, that's what we're looking at. That's where it could be a problem. Because while it's still breezy, the occasional gust that speeds up to 40 miles an hour, that can push an ember, a spark, and a piece of fire farther into drier vegetation, and that can present a problem in Gillespie County, and for not just there, but for Blanco County. I think Blanco County will have to be watched very closely because with a west-northwest wind, any embers that are from that fire will move and travel in the air and the winds farther east towards Blanco County, towards Hayes County, towards Austin. That's where we could see additional fires spark off potentially with where the fire is currently in Gillespie County. Again, 0% contained, 400 acres on the latest. Matter of fact, let me show you on this map what we have. So that's current wind speeds. The Fredericksburg Fire and EMS Department, in conjunction with crews from across the region, are working together to contain this grass fire, this wildfire that started around 1 o'clock earlier today. The fire started on Lower Crabapple Road, hence Crabapple Fire, which is north of downtown Fredericksburg, and it moved east due to strong winds. It moved east across Highway 16 north because of the strong winds, the gusts that you saw on that last graphic, and prime conditions for wildfires in the area. As crews work on containment, everyone is asked to avoid the area. Please avoid anywhere northeast of Fredericksburg. That's where the wildfire is burning. Matter of fact, let me see if I can do something. So Fredericksburg should pop up. How far of a distance is it from Fredericksburg? It's about 10 miles or so from downtown Fredericksburg. So everyone is asked to avoid the area northeast of Fredericksburg. People in the area should listen to crews on the ground. As you saw in that live shot with Megan Reyna, helicopters, air support help battling the fire. Crews are on the ground battling the fire. They're also helping with evacuations and people that are preparing to evacuate. Anywhere between Highway 16 North and FM 1617. So I'll say that one more time. Highway 16 North and FM 1631 and Ranch Road 1323 and Ranch Road 2721 should be prepared to evacuate in the event it comes to that. Because remember, it's 0% contained and over 400 acres on its reach on the hill country. Law enforcement will be there in the area to help with any evacuations. If anyone has been displaced, this is very important. If you know anybody, if you have friends or family, any neighbors, community members, if you know anybody that has been displaced because of this wildfire in northeastern Gillespie County, a shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. I'll say that one more time. If anyone has been displaced, impacted by this fire northeast of Fredericksburg in Gillespie County, a shelter is available because some people are being evacuated from their home. There is a shelter available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. Now at this point, from the Fredericksburg Fire Chief, there is no containment. Our goal is to stop the forward progress with air support, with the A&M Forest Service, with TDM. Our crews are also working behind the fire to make sure embers do not cause more fires, because as you saw, and even superimposed on this particular map, are the wind speeds. You saw on that last graphic, wind speeds are up to 35, 40 miles an hour with the occasional gust, and what that's going to do is spread these fires from west to east. So anywhere across Blanco County, eastern Gillespie County, towards Austin, we may see embers, hopefully not, but potentially additional embers spread farther east, and that can cause additional fires to spark up, and that can definitely be a problem. So we'll have to watch that very closely. All right, yeah, so Megan Reyna is live on the scene in the Hill Country. Megan, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Ryan, we're still here at this same spot where you're really just seeing the aftermath of what they've been able to do here, or at least what the fire did, and there's still some flames that we're actively seeing here and there. They come back and they go away. My guess is that they're not worried about those little flames because they're kind of isolated, right? So they're not actively fighting in this area. We're trying to stay out of their way. That's why we're over here, trying to stay out of their way, because they're still they're hard at work trying to get this contained. Something I want to update y'all, what we just learned from Gillespie fire officials is that originally we were reporting this was about 400 acres. We are now learning at 8,600 acres now impacted by this wildfire here. So we're off Lower Crabapple Road. This is the Crabapple wildfire, 8,600 acres impacted here. So that's significant jump from what we were first reporting when we first learned of the wildfire, which we know started around 1 this afternoon. We're off of Lower Crabapple Road, north of Fredericksburg Road. Okay, so I want to talk about what we're seeing right now, where Mike Humphreys, the photographer here with us, he's zooming into what appears to be a plane. We're not seeing the bucket necessarily that we were seeing earlier, the water bucket that they were dropping off, possibly because they already dropped it. But you see a plane there. We've been seeing planes ever since we've got here, and the wind is picking up. Oh goodness, wind is picking up. You see the smoke flying everywhere, but we're following that plane right now, seeing where that's going. But that's a plane we've been seeing that's been circling this wildfire. Earlier we saw them, one with actually where you saw the water bucket that they've been dropping down, but then it went, it disappeared into the smoke. So we know that where the smoke is really heavy, over to this left, I believe Mike's just still following this plane because we want to see how far that goes out. Actually, if anything, the track of that plane is probably telling us just how widespread this is, and just how many acres are now being impacted. Like we talked about, that jump in acreage from 400 to 8,600 acres here in Gillespie County being impacted north of Fredericksburg. Also, if you're in Fredericksburg and you've been seeing the smoke from a distance, right? When I was driving in, coming in through Fredericksburg, you could see this large plume of smoke from a distance, and it seems to only be growing. Some of it really dark, which might tell you that's fresh fire, that really, really dark smoke. But yeah, we're actually seeing multiple planes out too. So they're fighting. The best way to fight these fires really is from the sky. That's really their best bet right now, is using the tools they have in the air to be able to battle this wildfire. And I'm gonna be honest, the smoke is really picking up because we just got huge gusts of wind, and that's the problem they're dealing with out here is battling these windy, dry conditions here. So this is something else. This scene right now. Want to take you back, if you're just joining us, right? If you weren't following us a few minutes ago, we got to speak to some homeowners who live just down the road from here up on the hill, who talked about the job that they've been doing, the firefighters have been doing here, and talked about how they have saved homes, especially their neighbor's home, who they described was, the home was spared, everything around it burned. But for somehow, thankfully, those firefighters were able to spare that home. So we've definitely got, a lot happening out here. Like I said earlier, we haven't moved from this location because we're really trying to stay out of the way of those firefighters that are actively working on this. We saw Waco Fire come in, multiple volunteer fire departments. Speaking with those homeowners, they're like, our neighbors who are volunteer firefighters, they're out here working to make sure and try to spare the homes, spare the livestock. We constantly, where we're at right here on this road, we're seeing fire trucks driving back and forth. There's another plane that we're seeing that's flying overhead of this area. Something else I want to mention too, which I'm sure Ryan's been talking about, there has been several wildfires in this area before. Just in the last 3 years, they have dealt with this. I mean, it's just not the conditions they all add up kind of for a recipe of disaster when something like this happens, because it's dry, given the terrain, given the rigid terrain that there is, and how dry it is, the drought we've been dealing with years here in central Texas, and then these winds, combine all of that, it is so difficult. But I will tell you this, these firefighters are doing a fantastic job keeping everyone safe. And I know Ryan was also mentioning there's a shelter for those homeowners to go to in Fredericksburg. So really this is about neighbors, community members from across central Texas coming together to make sure that they are doing their best to contain what is a massive wildfire here, the Crabapple wildfire. So I'm going to send it back to you for now, Ryan, as we just kind of continue to watch what's going on. We might try and and maybe move a little bit just to see if we can get a different angle. But this is kind of, like I mentioned, we just want to stay kind of out of the way. We don't want to get in the way of the work that they're doing right now. So send it back to you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, first responders, firefighters are battling this fire collectively together. And I mean, from that update, Megan, talk about a huge jump in acreage, right? So from earlier today, 400 acres was the initial report and estimate on the size of this fire. Fast forward to now with the latest from the Texas A&M Forest Service, 8,640 on the size of this fire. It's still 0% contained, so if you're just joining us, this is a massive fire that jumped from 400 acres to 8,600 acres. That's a massive, significant jump, and it's still not any better to being contained. Of course, firefighters on the scene, EMS, crews, also air support out there. You saw with our photographer, with Megan Reno, we saw some air support in the sky that's helping to battle the fire a little bit, inch by inch, little by little. It's going to take a while to get a hold on this fire because of the winds. It is a huge change from yesterday, right? We had winds a little breezy yesterday, and this has been the theme ever since March started, right? We've had occasional days of sun breaks, but almost every other day we've seen wind gusts upwards of at least 20 to 25 miles an hour. They've been up to 40 to 45 miles an hour all day today. In the morning it was calm, but after about 9, 10, 11 a.m., that's when they really started to ramp up behind a boundary. The thing is, we get these dry lines a lot, these frontal boundaries that move in from West Texas, and what that does, it not just ushers in gusty winds, 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, it also ushers in extremely low dew points, low relative humidity values, and very dry conditions, almost desert-like dry air. And then when you mix in that desert-like dry air from West Texas that moves into the hill country, that can do so this time of year in March and April, and then you add in the drought. We'll take a look at the drought report from last Thursday and this Thursday, and even 6 months ago, how bad it's progressed. I mean, the drought has expanded, it's worsened. When you mix in drought, low humidity, dry air, gusty winds near 30 to 40 miles an hour, it's a bad recipe, as Megan mentioned. It's a terrible combination for fire weather danger, which is why there's a red flag warning in effect until 9 o'clock tonight, even when it expires, and even if there's only a fire weather watch for Sunday, or if there's no red flag warning for Sunday. The conditions, the surface level conditions, the soil, the terrain, the topography, the wind speeds, the humidity, it's not going to change significantly over the next couple of days. The wind speeds will come down thankfully tonight and tomorrow. That'll be the good news. That'll help first responders, that'll help firefighters, that'll help crews battle this fire. But the fact that our drought is exceptional, it is the worst category. We'll take a look at that in a second. It is level 5 out of 5 bad for our drought level in San Antonio, and more importantly across the hill country where crews are battling this fire as we speak, where you're seeing live footage of that right beside me. And a map right below me is showing current conditions of this fire. 0% contained if you're just joining us. It went from 400 acres in size from the 1 o'clock update to now the 6:30 update. It's over 8,600 acres in fire in eastern, northeastern Gillespie County. That's northeast of Fredericksburg. I think that's about 10 miles northeast of Fredericksburg. If you're watching from Fredericksburg or even Kerrville or Comfort, anywhere across the hill country, you can probably see in the distance, if you look north, if you look northeast, you can see that huge plume of smoke in the atmosphere. Matter of fact, around 3:30 to 4 o'clock today, you can see, I'll change right here, there we go. This shows a satellite image from about 4 o'clock earlier today of the fire that got started. This is when it was only 400 acres in size. We'll have another update from this later this evening and another GOES satellite image for tomorrow and see how massive that fire is, because from latest updates from the Texas A&M Forest Service, from 400 acres to over 8,600 acres, that is a massive jump. This fire is spreading rapidly. Why is it spreading rapidly? You probably feel it outside. The wind speeds are gusty. Here are sustained wind speeds. So these are observation sites across the area from Beeville to Fredericksburg, from Del Rio to Gonzales, from San Antonio to Bernie. Fredericksburg seeing 25 mile an hour winds sustained, 35 at Hondo, 20 at Kerrville, 22 at San Marcos, and 12 in Austin. Here are the occasional wind gusts. This is what's causing a problem, because when these fires spark, right, whether it's a grass fire, a wildfire, tree fire, anything, these winds from west to east, one, it's dry, but two, it's helping embers jump from spot to spot, which is why I talked about this earlier. This fire is in Gillespie County, but I'll rewind this real quick. I'll rewind this and then fast forward right there. Why this is a problem: dry winds, low humidity, drought, and the westerly direction can help embers jump, not just from Gillespie County, but to Johnson City. This is not the case right now, but we'll have to watch for the potential at this happening later tonight and through tomorrow as well. The fire that's in Gillespie County, westerly winds will help carry any of these embers towards Blanco County, towards Austin I-35, San Marcos, towards Gonzales, towards Bastrop, towards south of Waco. We'll have to watch along the I-35 corridor and especially along the 281 corridor. I think that's most important. The 281 corridor from Bulverde to Johnson City for additional development, given that the latest update from 400 acres to over 8,600 acres, 0% contained on the Crabapple fire. That is a massive problem and a huge concern. If this fire has spread that quickly, that rapidly, between 1 o'clock and now, which is now it's 6:30 p.m., 6:29 p.m. on our Saturday night. Saddle fire, that's 95% contained, size 17 acres, but it's nowhere near the size, the magnitude, and the gravity of the Crabapple fire, where Megan Reyna is at, where Mike Humphreys is at, our photographer. Our team is up there in the hill country watching and monitoring this fire very closely. But again, if you're just joining us, the latest 0% contained, about 10 miles northeast of Fredericksburg, went from 400 acres to 8,640 acres as of the latest update from the Texas A&M Forest Service. That is a problem. Now, we talked about this earlier, the forecast smoke layer. This is just a forecast model showing what the smoke layer is in the atmosphere. This can be a problem for asthma sufferers, for anyone that suffers from respiratory issues, COPD, emphysema, anything like that. If you suffer from labor breathing, anything along those lines, increased smoke can definitely cause a problem. Haze, lowered, reduced air quality, that's what we're looking at for a big chunk of Gillespie County, northeastern Gillespie County, towards Johnson City, and even towards Comal County, Hayes County, towards Austin and I-35. So this is a forecast model. So it's 6:31 now. Fast forward to 7 o'clock. This is about 10 miles northeast of Fredericksburg. Fast forward to about midnight. Winds start to turn a little bit. They'll relax a little bit. I think at about midnight tonight, maybe 10 to 25 miles an hour on the sustained wind speeds. And then with the occasional gust near 30 to 35 by later tonight. By tomorrow, it'll get a lot better for wind speeds, but the air still will be significantly dry. We'll have low dew points, low relative humidity values, but more importantly, the winds start to turn from the north. That's still a dry wind. But why I say most importantly is because that's going to shift the plume of smoke moving towards Austin, for example, right now, but more towards San Antonio by tomorrow morning. So tomorrow's sunrise will be around 7:50 a.m. or so. Around 8 a.m. or so tomorrow morning, as it's getting out, it'll be clear, but if you notice a haze in the sky or smoke, that's the smoke from the Crabapple wildfire in northeastern Gillespie County. So because of the wind direction change late tonight through tomorrow morning, yes, the wind speeds will come down. That'll help significantly, but because of the wind direction change, that can help usher smoke in a different direction, towards Bulverde, towards Kendall County, towards Timberwood Park, towards Canyon Lake, towards San Antonio. We could see a large plume of smoke move in our direction. And why that's important? Well, that reduces air quality. That can mean a big problem for anyone that has asthma or suffers from any respiratory illness as well. So this may reduce our air quality tomorrow if the wind's directly changing from the north, which is what we're seeing right now. We talked about air quality. We do have current air quality monitors. Let me see if I can pull that up really quickly. This just shows the bigger populated areas for the air quality monitors. I may have to make one for local just because of given the situation, but notice San Antonio currently in the yellow category, that's moderate, but I wouldn't be surprised up towards Gillespie County, Fredericksburg, towards Johnson City. This is probably down to orange, maybe red because of the given situation, the increased smoke, the plume of smoke that's entering the atmosphere, that's reducing the air quality. So that means likely unhealthy for sensitive groups, for what we mentioned, someone who has asthma or someone who suffers from COPD. The increased smoke in the air will be a concern as well. Crabapple fire, 0% contained. If you're just joining us, size 8,640 acres. That is a problem. We talked about where the smoke may head tonight through tomorrow. Due to a wind direction briefly tomorrow morning, we may see some smoke in San Antonio, but maybe a westerly direction will prevail tomorrow afternoon, may shifting the smoke layer towards Johnson City. And why that's important as well, we talked about air quality, but also the embers from this fire. If it's a west wind anywhere in Blanco County towards Austin, we'll have to watch for any redevelopment, additional development of fires in Blanco County towards Austin. That's where it could be a problem because look at the wind speed. So these are sustained, right? These are 20 to 25 mile an hour winds across the hill country, but the occasional wind gusts are still maxing out at 34 to 35 to even 40 in some parts of the hill country, and it's still a westerly direction, and that can transport not just smoke but embers farther east towards San Marcos, towards Austin, and towards Blanco County, Johnson City, and north of Bulverde. So we'll have to watch that very closely. Law enforcement is continuing to battle this fire, also helping with evacuation law enforcement as well. If anyone has been displaced, a shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. I'll repeat that one more time, and then we'll get ready to send it over to Megan Reyna, who's live in the hill country. If anyone is displaced, if you know anybody, friends, family, neighbors who have been displaced because of the fire, a shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas 78624. Crews are battling this fire, firefighters. There's air support out there. We saw that a lot with some of the video from Megan Reyna and our KENS 5 crew that's up in the hill country right now. But again, this fire started on Lower Crabapple Road, which is north of downtown Fredericksburg, and it moved east across Highway 16 north due to high winds. Wind speeds, as you saw in that last graphic, upwards of 35 to 40 miles an hour. Anyone between Highway 16 north and FM 1631 and between Ranch Road 1323 and Ranch Road 2721 should be prepared to evacuate in the coming hours. Megan Reyna is live again in the hill country north of Fredericksburg. Megan, what are you seeing and how are firefighters battling this flame?
Ryan, you're mentioning it really from the air. That is the key, is to battle this fire from the air. Not too long ago, my photographer and I, Mike Humphrey, saw a plane drop water down, which is definitely good news. Good news that they're able to continue to fight and reload those planes with water retardant. Actually, I think we saw, let me correct myself, what we recently saw was retardant, that red stuff dropped down into the wooded area, but from a distance from where we're at. So they're really battling it where you can see the smoke in the distance. That's where we're seeing them focus this battle. We want to stay out of their way, right? We're on Lower Crabapple Road where the fire began, but we're trying to stay out of the way from those firefighters. So that's why we're still kind of back here in this area. And what you're seeing closer to this area is really the destruction, all the charred vegetation, trees. In a distance, we can see, all you can see, I was telling my photographer, it looks almost like mountains, but really it's just charred trees. All that's left are the branches, just burnt wood. So this is, you see it right here, the destruction that this wildfire has caused in this rural area of Gillespie County, north of Fredericksburg. It's so interesting. We were also talking about it off camera. When you're driving through Fredericksburg, you see all these tourists, and then from a distance, you see that large plume of smoke that's visible from Fredericksburg. And the hope is that they're able to contain this fire, get control of this fire that has gone from 400 acres around 1 o'clock to now 8,600 acres impacted by this wildfire. So I know they're working hard. There are homes out here. There are people that are impacted by this, livestock impacted by this fire. But the good news is so far we have not heard of anyone being hurt from this fire. Everyone's been able to be evacuated. Homes have been spared. There's a home right down the street. We talked to the homeowners. It's up the hill. I don't know if actually, Mike, you can see the home over there on the hill that has been spared because of the work done by these firefighters. And we're talking hundreds of people out here working to contain this wildfire. And when we talked to those homeowners, they talked about their neighbors too, which you can't really see the home from here, but their neighbor's home was surrounded by just burnt vegetation, but their home, their vehicles are okay because of the work done by these firefighters. So they are so thankful. They are so grateful. I know everyone in this community is super grateful for the work that they're doing. A lot of these people out here right now are volunteer firefighters in their community, doing what they can to protect it, protect the wildlife. Something else to mention is that this area is known to have wildfires. Just in the last 3 years, the neighbors that we spoke with, the residents here, told us that they've had at least, I was about to say dozen, excuse me, they've had a few wildfires just in the last 3 years in this same area because of the vegetation, because of the drought, the wind, the heat. Unfortunately, it's just not a good recipe when it comes to wildfires, brush fires, grass fires. So they have dealt with this, but something they told me is, despite dealing with this destruction that kind of is surrounding them, they love it here. They love the hill country. They don't want to leave. They love this community, and they like being out here in this area. So they're trying to keep their spirits high, that's for sure. And I know that just seeing all the work that these firefighters are doing, it's clear how much they care and just everything that they're giving into fighting this fighting this wildfire and trying to keep it contained. We see another plane. Looks like it's going to should be dropping something, or maybe surveying. We're following that plane because this is the best way for them to do it. Excuse me, right now, is to fight from the sky to keep this wildfire contained. 8,600 acres impacted right now. Smoke, I will say, maybe has died down a tiny bit. I don't even want to say that because it's still really heavy here, and you really can't see much. Once you see that, all that smoke, it's hard. You can't see anything past it. And like I said, we're here where it started, which is off of Crabapple. So this is where it began. This is where you can see some of those active little fires and embers. More planes we see are coming through. And so they're going to be here. I mean, it's 6:40. We were told by those homeowners, expect these firefighters and these first responders to be out here all night trying to make sure that they're working to keep it contained. I think I did see retardant just drop, like from a distance, Mike, but it's gone now. But they're dropping retardant, that red stuff that helps stop the fires. We saw some in the road earlier when we were driving in even. So they've been, that's obviously a huge tool for them to be able to put out these wildfires and this brush. I want to call it brush fire. It was originally called a grass fire by Fredericksburg officials, but really out here it's brush. I mean, it is dry. You already had dead trees before this fire this afternoon, so there's already, it's very, very dry out here. It's rigid. It's difficult. There's not, and I want to mention this too. I haven't mentioned this yet. There's not any major lakes nearby for them to go and refill with water. So that also can be a challenge too when it comes to them fighting this, to replenish the water supply for those planes. So, or for the fire trucks. So yeah, I'm curious. We haven't been able to get an update quite yet from firefighters because they're at work right now. They're doing an important job, but I'm curious what their water supply is like right now, just because 8,600 acres. Last time we knew there was a wildfire just to this extent, just this massive in this area. It took days for them to contain it, but of course they're working. I know this for a fact. They're working as fast as they can, as hard as they can to try and get some sort of containment. But as of right now, Ryan, 0% is what we're hearing. 8,600 acres, 0%, Gillespie County. So this is a battle here. I'll send it back to you for now.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, I mean, even behind you, you can see so much of the dry vegetation, the dry grass. It's so dry. I mean, the hill country is underneath an exceptional drought. It's the worst category of drought, and what that does, it offers up a favorable condition, a favorable environment for wildfires, for grass fires, we mentioned. And that's why it's jumped from 400 acres to over 8,600 acres. And that is a huge concern. It's significantly expanded, it's spread, and that's the worst case scenario with wildfires. like this in this kind of environment. We talked about the low dew points, the low humidity, the drought, but the wind speeds are the main culprit, right? I mean, we offer a tinderbox of vegetation for wildfires, but the wind speeds is really what's making it happen, right? And what's helping it spread rapidly. We have a red flag warning that's in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. Even if it expires tonight with wind speeds dying down a little bit, it's still not going to make for a good environment for wildfires, for grass fires. So again, avoid driving over tall grass. Don't throw lit cigarettes out the window. Avoid any outdoor burning, because with these winds like this, we talked about the low humidity. Behind this system, if you've been keeping up with weather, there's a lot of storms moving across the southeast right now, but on the western side of this large upper level weather system, the surface weather level, system, in our area is just low dew points, dry humidity, and dry air, and that's conducive and favorable for wildfires. So we'll take a look at wind speeds. But again, just from what Megan mentioned, 0% contained. It went from 400 acres from the 1 o'clock update from the Texas A&M Forest Service to now, according to them, 8,640 acres of fire across northeastern Gillespie County, across that part of the hill country. So that's offering up a huge problem. We talked about this earlier. Smoke can be a problem for air quality. Winds will turn in from the north overnight. That may mean a little smoke for us in San Antonio, but they'll start to prevail from the west again tomorrow. And what that's going to mean for additional smoke for I-35, Blanco County. If you're watching from Johnson City, north of Bulverde, that can be a concern for elevated fire danger, but also low, reduced, unhealthy air quality for sensitive groups. Again, if you suffer from asthma, if you suffer from COPD, any respiratory illness, increased smoke is likely anywhere from Fredericksburg to Johnson City and as far east as Austin and down to New Braunfels and I-35 as well. So we'll have to watch that very closely, on top of, more importantly, the wildfire, which, by the way, wind speeds not really doing much right now. They're not dying down yet. We are expecting them to relax and diminish overnight. But notice in Fredericksburg that northwest west wind is prevailing and gusting upwards of 34 to 35 miles an hour. And that is a problem out there. What's the problem as well is dew points. It's so dry, relative humidity is low. These are desert-like humidity values. It is so dry. And the vegetation, the grass, is already dry. So when you have dry from the lower levels to the upper levels, it's a terrible combination. Here's a look at the hour-by-hour forecast. Through tonight, wind speeds come down a little bit by about 3 and 4 a.m. 5 to 15 miles an hour from the north. They tend to turn back in from the west. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll see an increase in wind speed again, but not as gusty as earlier today. Probably ranging in the hill country 15 to 25 miles an hour. And then by tomorrow night, they die back down and then likely coming back up for Monday and Tuesday. So we're in a bad environment for fire weather, not just because of drought and humidity, but because of these on and off wind speeds. They keep fluctuating, and that's causing a problem in the area. Moderate air quality for San Antonio, but I anticipate anywhere in the hill country towards Blanco County, towards Austin, probably up to about unhealthy, to maybe to that red category. Red flag warnings in effect until 9 p.m. tonight. We talked about it. Even if it expires tonight and is not reissued for tomorrow, it's a concern because of this right here. 6 months ago, our drought was okay, but now it is worse. You can see an additional 2 pockets of exceptional drought. What that does, it creates a tinderbox for fire weather. Here is the fire weather for tomorrow and Monday. This may fluctuate a little bit. This is also issued by the Texas A&M Forest Service. Anywhere from extreme to very high fire danger for over the next 48 hours. So conditions are not going to get any better very quickly. These are just some tips. Avoid outdoor burning. Wildfires that spark off will spread rapidly. It'll contribute to extreme fire weather behavior. And again, as wind speeds die down tonight, that's good, but they'll gust upwards of 20 miles an hour tomorrow. Help prevent wildfires. Don't throw lit cigarettes out the window. Do not park or drive over tall grass. Do not leave campfires unattended. Avoid outdoor burning at any cost, because especially across the hill country, as you saw on Megan's live shot, the vegetation, the ground, the grass is just so dry, and that could definitely become and present a problem. One more thing, this is a satellite image from space. You can see the wildfire. That's from about 3:30 to 4 o'clock earlier today. And I imagine it's even larger because of the update from the Texas A&M Forest Service from 400 to 8,640 acres in the area. Current fires, and there it is right there. And we have an update from David Peters from our desk. All right. Michael Safer, is that correct?
Michael Safer, sir.
Michael, this is Ryan at KENS 5. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm good, all things considering.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for shaving time out of your day to help us out with this coverage of the wildfire. Can you tell me, what you're seeing out there, how you've been impacted, what you're experiencing, a little bit of everything. Can you tell me what's going on out there?
Yeah, sure. It actually started for me a little bit, earlier today. I was out changing the brakes, getting ready to go to work, and looked up and grabbed the missus and said, look, there's a cloud of smoke. It's huge. And I have an aerial photography company, so from where I'm at, which is way far away, 15 minutes away from it, I just threw the drone up to see if I can get a better look. And obviously what I saw was about 500 acres at the time on fire. So we grabbed our cameras and just some first aid kit and stuff just in case we need, because, there's a lot of neighbors around here. And we headed towards the fire. And as we got close, they let us a little closer than most people, again, just because we're folks with cameras, I guess. Yeah. And so we got up and just car after car, truck after truck, evacuating, just coming by with their trailer. If they're lucky, they got an RV on the back and they're pulling it. And you were talking to a lot of people. We met a couple that were talking about, man, we just sold our ranch out here, and it's crazy that this is happening. And therefore, on the other side is a couple that just bought a ranch that is now. And so that's what we were seeing, was just a lot of people being evacuated, and then the fire department and the local law enforcement and everybody doing their thing to make sure that the roads stayed clear and all that. And it was crazy. It looked like wartime. You just look at all this desolate, burned, scorched earth, and there's no end in sight. It's just flames are getting bigger and bigger, and then you see another black thing pop up, and then every time there's a black chimney of smoke, another car is lit on fire. And it's just eerie, just watching as another house, as another car, you see the footprint in the sky of it burning. It was intense.
And living in the hill country, you're seeing the plume of smoke, you're seeing just kind of eerie how it is, but are you seeing people scramble around? Are you seeing people, are they, coming out of their houses? Are they curious?
So, luckily, like that road there, all those people, it seems like, around here, we're blessed with just the most amazing first responders, and they were there right away. So in town, we went into town when we were done getting our footage to fuel up, and I was at the gas station, and I'm sitting here. It was so weird, almost surreal, because everybody's around. They're taking pictures of their vacation. Everybody's like, look at the downtown marked plots. Oh, let's go to the beer garden. And I'm asking the guy, I'm like, have people been talking about this fire? And he was literally like, what fire?
Really?
I was like, come outside. Look, you see that massive cumulus nimbus cloud? That is smoke. That is not a cloud. That is smoke. Look down. Like it's when you're in the city, you don't really see it. You see the top of this white cloud. But once you get out of the city into the hill country, so it's weird. It's like a movie.
And you've seen a lot of first responders, firefighters, EMS. They've been scrambling as well all around that area, correct? You've seen a lot of that?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. In fact, you go down to on Main Street, the fire department there, there's so many first responders called in that we were watching them park at the bank and walk across the street because they can't park at the fire department. It's all full, and you look in. They have 2 trucks still left in the place, and all the rest are empty. And I think Fredericksburg has like 12 trucks. And we saw trucks from other counties and everything rolling in too. So to
help assist and help out with that.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been covering it for the last few hours, but crews are out there battling the fire. It went from 400 acres in size to about 8,000 acres in size. So that's a huge jump. I know. And Michael, I wanted to ask you one more question. You're in the hill country. How dry is it? Because, I do weather. I'm a meteorologist, and we've talked about a lack of rain, extreme to exceptional drought. The vegetation, the grass is so dry, and that can be a huge culprit, not just the winds, but the vegetation can be a culprit for wildfires, for grass fires, spreading pretty quickly in that area.
Oh, yeah, most definitely it's brush country, we have a lot of goats up here, like, there's the Billies in Fredericksburg, and so because of that, all this brushy, twiggy, tall grass for grazing, and our county is the last to get a burn ban. When everybody else is on burn ban, we're just up here, enjoying the rain, but even we are in a burn ban, just dry. And so yeah, people have, brush they're trying to burn and this and that. They're just gonna have to wait, But yeah, it's the twigs snap quicker than they're supposed to. That's how the old timers tell the moisture. It's real dry out here.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about the exceptional dry. It's actually gotten worse over the last 2 weeks. Winter didn't provide much rainfall, and we're seeing that huge plume of smoke continuing. It's just ongoing, and firefighters are continuing to battle this fire. But Michael,
it's the perfect condition for this to get out of hand. It's just awful.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for telling me what you're seeing out there. This really helps because we can, we could talk about, winds and drought, but when people call in and give us what they're seeing, it really helps out with coverage. So thank you so much for your time, Michael.
Sure. Yeah, no, thank y'all for covering it. But God bless everyone, and we'll pray for the best outcome.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, that was Michael in the Hill Country. Again, he was talking about how he's seeing a plume of smoke. People are out there. This is an update on the Crabapple fire. If you're just joining us, it's 0% contained. At the 1 o'clock hour, when the Texas A&M Forest Service had the first update, it was up to 400 acres in size. Now it is up to 8,640 acres in size. That is a massive, significant jump. And the reason being is because, of course, the drought, the weather. Crews are out there battling this fire. And right now, Megan Reyna is live in the Hill Country right now. Megan, what are you seeing? And not yet. Okay, no worries. We'll go up to Megan Reyna in just a little bit. But again, yeah, fire, weather is a concern. The Crabapple fire burning near Fredericksburg. Firefighters working to extinguish these flames. Fire is 0% contained. Again, guys, this is the latest on it. Crabapple fire. It sparked off of Crabapple Road in the Hill Country. EMS, firefighters, first responders are all up there battling this fire. I do want to mention a couple of different things. We'll go into the weather and kind of the current conditions in a little bit. This fire started off on Lower Crabapple Road, which is north of downtown Fredericksburg, about 10 miles or so northeast of Fredericksburg. And this moved east, fast. Across Highway 16 North due to high winds and prime conditions for wildfires in the area. Now our Megan Reyna is live on the scene in the Hill Country in Gillespie County. Megan, how is the fire looking? It's dry up there. How are firefighters responding to this?
Ryan, yeah, we're off Lower Crabapple Road right here. This, like you mentioned, where the fire began. So firefighters aren't actively right here in this vicinity. The reason we're here is because we want to get out of their way. The last thing we want to do is to disrupt their operations, but we're actually close to where their command center is. So where the firefighters are, all meeting, coming up with their plans, and then we constantly see them driving in and down or up and down this road, going, closer into where there's active flames, where they're, the areas that they're trying to attack, because of course they have to be strategic about how they're attacking this wildfire, given the circumstances. We talked about it constantly. Ryan, you mentioned it, the wind speeds. The wind has not calmed down. It has consistently been an issue here. The dry vegetation, the drought. We aren't dealing with the heat, thank goodness. That's one thing these firefighters don't have to worry about, is the excessive heat, but that wind is definitely playing a huge role in this fire spreading. 400 acres to more than 8,000 acres. Started around 1 o'clock in the area that we're standing, where you see the rubble, you see the ashes, you see what's left of this burnt vegetation, and then spread, of course, across this area, this rural area in Gillespie County. We know it jumped past Highway 16. So there's several communities that could possibly be impacted by this. This isn't a dense populated area, highly dense populated area. This is a rural area, but there still are people that live out here. We heard not long ago from Michael, another resident in this area who's impacted by this. So there still are people who are impacted by this, and livestock that could potentially be impacted by this wildfire. So we know that these volunteer fire departments were across the county or across the region, I want to say, Gillespie County, Waco. We saw Round Rock, all across central Texas, here to help and try and contain this massive wildfire that has jumped from 400 to more than 8,000 acres on this Saturday afternoon. We knew today was going to be a risky day with that red flag warning. This is, of course, we were hoping this was not going to be the outcome, right? We were hoping that we would be spared, but unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with. And we know that, again, those firefighters, a lot of them volunteers, they're working hard and they are doing their best to try and contain this so everyone is safe. And we have not heard of any injuries, thank goodness. Not heard of any homes being destroyed from what we've heard from people driving up and down. But we can't for sure say that because the last update we got was about an hour ago from officials. There is Ryan's been mentioning this, there is a shelter that residents that have been displaced or at least had to be evacuated can go to that's in Fredericksburg. We have that information on kins5.com, that address. So they do have that. But yeah, this is, I mean, we're just constantly seeing this heavy smoke. Where we're at, like we are where it began and it's really kind of spread further inward. And so we're not seeing those active big flames necessarily. On and off, we'll see it from a distance, but right now we're not seeing those active big flames. We're just seeing embers, little fires nearby. That I'm guessing the firefighters, and I'm not, you know, a complete, I'm not an official, I'm not a complete expert on fires, but those little fires that we're seeing just by us, I'm guessing they're not too concerned with those because they seem isolated, don't seem like they can, I mean, everything's burned already, right? They're hoping that just dies down naturally because we've seen some that were, you know, active and then have since died down, and so they're not too worried about the little fires that you're seeing there because they're, you know, not worried about that spreading beyond where we're at least not right now, right? So they're not focused on these tiny little fires. They're really focused on the massive flames that we've on and off seen from a distance. Constantly been seeing those little planes. Mike Humphreys here is behind the camera, and Mike, you said those are used for crop dusting. The planes typically used for crop dusting is what we've been seeing that have been dropping retardant, so that red retardant down, and that is going to be their, you know, main defense here is using the sky, using those planes. We saw helicopters with buckets of water, dropping water, of course, as well. So that is really the key here to try and keep this from growing even bigger here in Gillespie County. And we're going to continue to follow the latest developments. So I understand, you know, this is still very ongoing. There's still a lot of things unfolding as we speak. But yeah, we're going to continue to stay on top of it for y'all and do our best to get the latest information. Our hope is by 10 o'clock tonight, this is at least not grown, right? And we expect them to be working throughout the night to keep this contained.
Thank you, Megan, and be safe out there. The fire continues, and as Megan mentioned, the Crabapple fire, 0% contained, went from 400 acres to 8,640 acres across northeastern Gillespie County. Fire crews are out there, EMS, air support's out there battling this fire, but right now the winds are just not helping. The drought's not helping. The weather is just not helping at all. If you're just joining us, we talked about this earlier, but you can actually see the plume of smoke in space from the hill country traveling east off of I-35 towards Houston. And this was at like 3:30 to 4 o'clock today when it was just starting to be contained. And now it's expanded rapidly over 8,000 acres, so it's probably a larger footprint on satellite. But if you see any haze in the sky, especially you look north, if you're in San Antonio, if you're in Kerrville, if you're in Bulverde, you look north, you could probably see that plume of smoke. Again, latest update, 0% contained and over 8,600 acres on the size of this fire. You can see the wildfire smoke prints on satellite. There's the location on the map. That's where Megan was reporting from in the northern hill country. This is a look at some of the forecast guidance on what the smoke can do over the next 24 hours. It'll fluctuate between a west and a north wind. Thankfully, wind speeds will die down tonight, but anywhere from here in the city towards the hill country, towards Fredericksburg, and towards Austin, we could see that smoke move in our area, and that may reduce the air quality And if you suffer from asthma, any respiratory breathing issues, that can be a concern. The air is so dry, the dew points are low, the winds are gusting upward to 40 miles an hour. Thankfully, the wind speeds will die down overnight, but watch what happens tomorrow afternoon. They gust a little higher, upwards of 15, 20, 25 miles an hour. That's a lot better than today, where we've seen gusts near 40 to 45 miles an hour, but it will still be a little breezy tomorrow, and that's still not good because of the drought, the low humidity. These breezy winds are still concerns for fire weather. Red flag warning expires at 9 o'clock tonight. You can see that right there, but even if it expires, elevated fire weather will continue. This is drought 6 months ago. Fast forward to today, this is a tinderbox for fires, so please avoid any outdoor burning. While the wildfire threat will come down tomorrow, it ramps back up on Monday and Tuesday, and that'll be the concern for South Central Texas and Central Texas over the next couple days as firefighters, fire crews continue to battle this fire in northern, northeastern Gillespie County. One more thing before we log off for the evening. We'll have additional updates on KENS5.com, KENS5 app, KENS5 Plus. Stream with us on KENS5 Plus. We'll have more updates on those platforms, KENS5 Plus, KENS5, the app, and KENS5.com as well. Crews are working on containment. Anyone in between Highway 16 North and FM 1631 and between Ranch Road 1323 and Ranch Road 2721 should be prepared to evacuate. Law enforcement are out there. They're in the area helping with evacuations, specifically in northeastern Gillespie County. If anyone has been displaced, this is very important. This will be the last piece of information I leave you with. If anyone has been displaced, friends, family, neighbors, if you know anybody that has been impacted by the Crabapple fire, let me go back to it real quick. That's not it, real quick. Let's see real quick. Hold on. That's the smoke layer. And then we'll do the manual fires real quick. There we go. St. Patty's Day is on Monday, so we're getting ready for that. But anyway, Crabapple fire, 0% contained, 8,640 acres. And for anyone who has been displaced, friends, family, neighbors, if anyone has been displaced, this is the last piece of information I'll leave you with. There's a shelter that is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway 16, Fredericksburg, Texas, 78624. A shelter is available at Faith Baptist Church at 3022 North State Highway, Fredericksburg Road, North State Highway 16 in Fredericksburg, 78624. So if you know anybody that's impacted, that is dealing with evacuations, there's a shelter in Fredericksburg that can help out with support for tonight and tomorrow as well. But again, 0% contained. We'll have additional updates on KENS5.com, on the KENS5 app, and KENS5 Plus. We're streaming there. So download that, and we'll have additional updates in the coming hours, especially on KENS5 News at 10 later on here on KENS5.